Hello, everybody. Whoa. I just made that shorter. That was no good. Whoa. Camera. Doing a thing. We're doing a thing there, camera. Oh, yeah. How's everybody today? Welcome to another WineShark Wednesday, brought to you briefly by Technical Weirdness, as we fix the camera and get it on a funky angle because reasons. Hi, everybody. Well, yes, it's on now. It's supposed to be on now. It was just me dropping it, John. So another grocery store grab. We have the Underwood Pinot Noir, but in a bottle. Well, you don't want the Underwood Pinot Noir in a bottle. You need the Underwood Pinot Noir in a can, Mary Thomas. Stop giving away all the secrets. So welcome, everybody, back to another WineShark Wednesday. Hope you guys have had an excellent week in our time apart. Just some fun things over this weekend. Had some fun, excellent Zinfandel from Sonoma and some Napa-style Bordeaux, brought to you by the fantastic San Clemente Aropas series. So that was delightful. Anyway, so it's coming around to summertime here, right? It's in the middle of summertime. We're in the heat moments. And so I've been thinking a lot about wine and wine cocktails. Say hello to Ms. Donna over there in the chat. Hello, Miss Donna. Great to see you again. So spritzers. Spritzers are your wine summer friend. I was asked recently about port and how to enjoy it in summer and not make it so weighty and some other stuff. But the oft maligned spritzer, specifically today's recipe I'm going to give you is for the Aperol spritz. Aperol is a potable digestif from Italy, one of my favorites. It's kind of Campari light, if you will. Campari is very, very potent, delightful digestif, brought to you by same country, same style. That's the potable bitter. But Aperol, I find, is the perfect medium blend. It's actually what I prefer in my Boulevardiers, and it is quite awesome. But its nice bitter nature gives an excellent counterpoint to some delight. So when you're having a nice kind of open and fresh, awesome wine, you can definitely try using an Aperol spritz. So an Aperol spritz is basically a cup of fruit juice. About 1/4 of that cup should be lime, lemon, or citrus of some sort, something sharp. And that helps counteract the bitter in the Aperol. But basically a 1/4 cup Aperol, 1 cup of fruit juice, and 1 750 ml bottle of wine. So you can play with a lot of different options. Things like passion fruit and lime are a usual combination. The recipe that I have, for instance, calls for those 2 drinks. But if you don't happen to have a passion fruit tree growing out in your yard, you have oranges. Guess what? Use oranges. Fresh juices are always the way to your best cocktails. I understand if you're in a pinch, you have to use something frozen, but still opens up lots of possibilities. Just key is equal parts of citrus and Aperol, and then 3/4 of a cup of something fun and sweet, right? Your wine, you want to keep on the lighter, crisper side of things, and generally speaking. So I'm looking at you, Pinot Gris, Pinot Blanc. I'm looking at you, I don't know, you do Verdejo, Verdejo or Vermentino, Sauvignon Blanc. Anything with bubbles in it would be fun too. Rosés, even, by the way. An excellent rosé spritzer could be made from a nice rosé of Grenache or something like that. Would give you an excellently pink drink. They'll make you look so toodles by the pool, and you'd be awesome. So there it is. Fun little what's coming up in summer. I'm expecting to make some for my 4th of July weekend, so you guys should too. So today's topic, we're going to talk about format fixes. Specifically, we're going to talk about boxes and cans. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about boxes, bibs, and cans, and what those things mean, what some of the the pros are, the advantages, some of the challenges that they face, and of course, my usual, own personal take on things, the editorial such that you guys come to see. So let's talk about some of the basics first. We're talking about some of the advantage. Well, actually, let's talk about the basics. We're talking about wine specifically made for it to be put in cans, or Bags inside of boxes, or just boxes like this particular juice box style one. The bags, by the way, inside are called bibs for the larger formats, where you get like the gallon and larger style formats. But formats come in a broad variety. There are different kinds of cans, sizes and types of cans. There are many different sizes and types of boxes, etc. But all of them are alternative wine to the usual concept of a bottle. Okay. The advantages of this particular format. The convenience is probably the number one. Convenience is king is really the motto behind a lot of this. From my youth, right? My father used to come home, mother used to come home from work in the evenings, get out of their work clothes, change into something comfortable and for around the house, and pour themselves a glass of wine, usually out of a box in the refrigerator. The convenience of having that service right there. The whole real convenience of it was right size. They only wanted one glass of wine, right? They weren't ready to dig into a bottle. They just wanted to have a glass while they were kind of unwinding. And so that key is the number one service advantage of that is right sizing your service size. Number two, it doesn't need any tools as far as convenience is concerned. Everything that I know that comes in the bag, can, and box world opens with your hands. Therefore, no extra tools to lug around. That's a convenience of its own right. Cans and boxes are also temperature friendly. Although generally we spoke about service temperature, about not serving your wines too cold. You don't want to serve them directly right out of the refrigerator cold. But guess what? You pour them in the glass and you wait 5 or 10 minutes, and they're going to be up to the right temperature anyway. So, especially for your whites and rosés, that's kind of an ideal platform. You have the box just sitting in there ready to go. Pour yourself a glass and you're ready. Storage wise, they're also very convenient. The cans, of course, in can size format like this, or in the now small box category, like so, they're portable and travel appropriate, right? They go all the places that normally we had traditionally reserved for things like beer. Right, we would normally associate cans and long neck bottles with our portability. So when we think about things like outdoor events or picnics or camping or whatever, these formats fit into those activities in the exact same way that the others do, right? Boxes, like I said, the small size boxes have that double feature. But when it comes to the other size, the regular larger size boxes, the gallons or more, quantity of purchase is itself its own convenience. You can serve at will, as we talked about. You've got the temperature all ready to go. You can serve as much or as little as you want. And we talk about one of the interesting things, we talk about during modern times is just it means you have to spend. There's less overall package waste when it comes to both cans and bottles. In an age where we're trying to cut back on waste in general, and not only are several of these types of things recyclable. For instance, what can recycling is usually up around 69%. Boxes with much less so, and even but both of them actually blow away the level of glass recycling that you normally see. So the other thing is about quality of storage. Okay, wines that are kept in bags or boxes or cans have zero oxygen exposure and zero light exposure. One of the big things that you'll hear about in the beer world as well was that beer world went through one of the same problems that wine did, and that bottles were considered somehow more prestigious than cans. And as the craft beer movement kicked off and bottles were everywhere, they started running into problems with light strike in their beer and their bottles. Well, the same thing can happen to wine, although it happens generally slower than beer. Um, but the other part, of course, of oxygen exposure is that normal wines under corked conditions have a slow transfer of oxygen. This is the natural part of their life cycle, but when it comes to freshness, that's actually working against you. Okay. So having zero oxygen exposure can actually be a benefit if you put the right type of wine in the container in the first place. Okay. These options are also inexpensive per package, right? There's a lower cost on the spent on the packaging than on glass and cork. This then is passed on as to a lower cost to you, the consumer. In other words, you're paying much more for the juice and less for the package that it comes in. Now, we've also talked about the factors in the past where uh, how much grocery store space or shelf space an item takes up has a factor. But wines in cans and wines in boxes actually tend to have their own separate version of that anyway. So it's a kind of it's a wash as far as that factor is concerned. Okay. The other thing is the current stupidity of our administration's tariff war is avoided by the box format. Okay? Generally speaking, the larger size boxes, because they're over the 2 liter limit specifically targeted in the tariffs, you can get imported wines at reasonable prices. In fact, a lot of the names and labels that I looked at while I was doing this grocery store grab and topic, a lot of the wines are foreign wines, Chilean wines, some other wines. I didn't see any specific European ones in there, but I do know for a fact that the rosé producers are doing a lot of work at bringing their wines in large format so that they're not paying tariffs. Additionally, just shipping it in the containers are also much less bulky. Therefore, they're much less expensive to ship. So whether you're bringing it in by the large container load style bag, right, the quick bags, or whether they're bringing it in individual smaller bags, they're still less bulky overall or less weight overall than you're dealing with when it comes to bottles. So again, better economy of packaging all the way around, right? Whether you're looking at it environmentally, whether you're looking at it economically, it's still better. Okay. So cans are growing in popularity a lot. That's another big advantage, right? According to a Nielsen study that I was referenced to on some of my research pieces, off-premises sales of canned wine in 2019 grew 79.2%. So almost 80% of popularity rise from a can in 1 year. That's a pretty big darn deal in the wine world. Okay, that obviously means that there's kind of a shift going through. To give you a comparison, the same year-over-year comparison for by bottles was just 1.4% of regular growth. So that's a very clear outlier as part as a change in attitude towards canned wine and canned wine in general. Box popularity during 2020, we've seen fewer wine trips for people, right? A lot of people who are under quarantines, etc. You have less chance to make it. The value proposition of having a larger quantity of wine on hand and being able to store it easily, bags are becoming more and more attractive, especially that you're seeing larger formats of higher quality product inside them. Okay. So those are kind of some of the big advantages, right? There's a lot to why the packaging makes sense. But there are a lot of challenges as well. The number one challenge out there is the stigma. It's the lowbrow mindset, stigma, and acceptance of consumers that wines in boxes or cans is cheap. And they're not wrong. Early technologies with wine and the wine that they were putting inside of them doubled down on the proposition that this was the lowest end of the spectrum opportunity. And that did the wine world no good service, right? I mean, in other words, being technology averse, being very hidebound to the way things had been, the wine industry didn't do itself any favors with early boxed wine. So it's all about the quality of what's inside the package, right? That's the thing that needs to round the corner when it comes to this obvious growth market. And as I read in one article, this is not a matter of when. This is a matter of the future. You're going to see this more and more and more. So the question is just who and how decides to make the inroads to make the economics work better. So quality of product. I saw several recognizable non-boxed wine, non-canned wine major labels on the store shelves at the grocery store. We'll actually do a grocery store grab of one of them later, but they've got Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc in cans. Okay, that's a pretty big deal. Now that's one of the other challenges that's actually in there. There are right now a few big hitters in the industry, and it's really the big money that's deciding what goes into those cans. Those big monies are definitely looking for big returns, and so the industry learning curve is kind of coming along as a second part of the challenge wave. Number one, there's the capital outlay costs. So it's not as nearly as accessible to small wineries or upstarts as it is to people with deep pockets. So that means that the wines you're going to see are almost always right now going to be wines that are from some distributor or producer who has the chops to be able to spend a multi-million-dollar bottling facility, bagging or canning facility, as the case may be. The other thing is the challenge is the industry having to learn about how to handle cans. Uh, there's not only things about packaging, stacking, and organizing that the beer world knew that the wine world really didn't. For instance, you can stack in a warehouse, you can stack bottles in cases much higher than you can cans on pallets. Um, there's also shelf life, which is something retailers really don't want to admit to dealing with, and is actually a critical problem in the beer world. My friend Bob Floyd, certified Cicerone, and I talk about this all the time, where getting consistent dates and labeling on these products is something that needs to happen for all consumers. And these products, by the way, I mean beer and wine, right? I want to see a use by date somewhere on this can. I mean, they've got vintage information sometimes on them, but more important than that, I don't necessarily want to know when it was made. I want you to tell me when I should no longer be consuming it. Okay, so that's something that needs to get into the lexicon of both beer and wine. The other thing is product appropriateness. Most of the canned wine wines began aiming at what I would call the stereotypical markets, meaning they were aiming after a demographic in particular that they want, which number one, they wanted youthful, right? And they generally wanted to target women. Okay, these two markets demographically were where they were trying to compete in that space to offer alternatives to perceived holes in other areas. For instance, the idea that women drink less beer than men, they prefer wine spritzers, wine coolers, alternatives. This is where you've seen the rise and shot up of the seltzer market. But in general, they were going after things like sparkling wines, rosé wines, sparkling rosé wines, all kinds of very niche wines as far as the broader wine world was concerned. Now, part of this is because not every product is designed to go in a can. A quote from Tondi Bolkin of Coppola Winery, who originally began with putting their California sparkling wine in a can, their Sophie wine, their Sophia. Because there's no oxygen exchange, you have to be thoughtful about what varieties you select and how the wine is treated before canning. Okay, that's very important and in your wine's hygiene and your wine's life cycle. So there's a lot of testing that needs to go on because you can't just take the exact same wine that you put in the bottle and decide to can it and hope for the best. There's a lot that can go wrong. We've talked in the corks and stoppers episodes about off-gassing, for instance, and reductive flavors and flaws. These are things you have to consider if you're putting wines in these types of formats. Okay, so the other thing is cost perception is a challenge. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about these, but understand that this is a 375 milliliter can, not 700, 375 mil can, just a little over 12 ounces. Okay, so this particular can ran about $5.49. Okay. So compare that to a similar can of beer, and what you're going to find is a much higher price point. But however, if you do the math backwards out, you'll actually find that this equates to roughly about an $11 to $12 bottle of wine. It's about 44 cents an ounce. That mental math doesn't really work for wine people when they're seeing the product on the shelves. They don't kind of get the idea. Now, interestingly, something like this 500 ml box format from Provisions, they're very, and the one that I bought from Black Box too, they're very into telling you this thing equals this many glasses, right? This box of 500 mils is worth about 5.6 ounce servings. That's awesome. But it's also, again, it's a mental leap that still goes to the idea of, great, 3 glasses of wine equals X dollars of wine. Is this good value? Is it bad value? I don't know. Now, again, with the stereotype of box wine cheap, right? Canned wine cheap, people are just going to assume that, when the reality is some of the higher end wines are running about the same. Some wines that they're doing in cans and boxes are running about the same as $15 to $20 a bottle wines. And remember, there's an economy to that where we're not paying for that bottle price and that cork price. Therefore, that's shaved off the top. So you might even give them a couple dollars in favor when you want to compare them to quote unquote equal priced wines. So I think if I was if I was a person putting wine in cans as well, I would embrace the market of existing bottled wine drinkers. Say, this pack is equal to about X, and usually you'll see them come in 4 packs. But remember, this is not the only style of can either, right? There are other. This 375 one. There are 300, 250s. There's these slimmer cans, taller cans. So packaging itself can become a its lack of homogeny can cause a particular analysis paralysis when it comes to regular bottled wine drinkers. Okay. Um, the industry, we already talked about them doing, kind of their stereotype thing, and missing a large portion of the market too. But overall, what I see on the shelves currently are kind of the basics. You're seeing the cabs, the chards, the pinot noirs, the merlots. You're seeing the big 3 or 4. Then you're seeing the esoteric side styles. But you're not yet really seeing an embrasure from some of the more popular wine labels. Okay. So customer acceptance, that's really what it all comes about to, right? It all comes about to who's wagging the dog. Is it the tail or is it the dog? And in this analogy, are we the consumer or the dog? I would say yes. We're the dog. Marketing is the tail. They're often trying to influence what we drink and how we drink it. They're trying to provide us with trends and spur ideas, kick off, and have things go viral. And it's a tricky business. So my particular take, my editorial opinion on the topic is that, number one, from a consumer perspective, we need to get the fuck over it. We need to accept and embrace why these particular packagings are what they're good for. We should demand our same wine quality within them, and we should see our popular labels start approaching those formats and trying to get us to bridge the gap to go, if I like it in this format, I'll like it here, here, and here. Again, with the understanding that they are appropriate for all things, because you can't put the exact same wine in. But the question is, can you put, if I say I love Strong Arms Cabernet Sauvignon, can you put Strong Arms Cabernet Sauvignon in a bag or in a bagged box and give me the same format? Michael David, can you do that? That would be awesome. And it would go along with a lot of their green movement type concepts, sustainability, all those types of things. It's just the right thing to do for so many reasons. Boxes rule the roost because unless you drink a bottle at a time, unless you're committed to finishing a bottle, there is no better way of having the same wine time after time after time. Okay. It is inexpensive. It is effective. It keeps oxygen away from your wine, from oxidization, which is by far the biggest flaw you guys are going to see. And it's also the biggest clock you're on when you're trying to finish a bottle. It's just simply a no-brainer that boxes are better for people who want to consume moderate portions on a daily or even weekly basis. Cans, I want to see more cans because of portability. Although I really love this idea of the 500 ml, juice box. The adult juice box is what I call this. So these things are great because they allow portability, travelability. They go to places in the outdoor activities that you should be doing. So right now you should go out and do those outside activities with the appropriate amount of social distancing. But seriously, go camping, go far away from people, take your wine with you. You'll be a happier person. Trust me. So awesome. So any questions about that before I dive into grocery store grab? Got a few people that are hanging out and watching. I'm already well into my second glass of my 3-glass box here. So we're going to talk about the grocery store grab. So for those that are not familiar, the grocery store grab concept is that we are here to help you get your best value per dollar out of wines found at non-specialty and non-big box stores. Not everybody has the luxury of shopping at a wine store, a specific customized wine store, or a big box wine store like, say, Total Wine, Specs, things like that. Seagulls, etc. Or you may not even be fortunate although you may be fortunate enough to have a grocery store with a capable wine section. I know several in my area. The demographic supports that. But the point is, when it comes to picking out wine at the grocery store, it can be a challenge from a perspective of price and from a perspective of selection. So my wines are chosen without prior research, and we basically choose them based on their labels only. We have a label focus to make sure that the wineries are telling us what we want to know in that bottle, and we're rewarding good information about what juice is in that bottle, bag, box, or can. So this week's selection are the Underwood Pinot Noir, right? And the Provisions Everyday Fine Wines Pinot Gris. So the Underwood was $5.49 per can, $7.49 list price before grocery store club discount. Okay. That works out, as I said, about 44 cents a glass or 44 cents an ounce, which is about $11 to $12 a bottle of wine. So when we try this Underwood, we're going to be trying it and comparing it to wines in that similar price point. Although, as I said, from a packaging perspective, I'll even give them a couple of bucks up the chain simply because they should be passing that savings on to their consumer in the first place. These wines, by the way, Underwood Wines became 6 of the top SKUs in Winebow, who is the overall distributor for New York-based distributor for these guys, for the Oregon super premium category, including wines in a bottle. In other words, Underwood has really got a good reputation for punching above its weight. First time I saw one of these, I actually bought it as a joke for Bob, my sister and friend, when I was coming home from Oregon, and it was in the Oregon airport that I saw these. And so I picked him up a couple and said, hey, wine getting into the can business. And that was probably 4 or 5 years ago. But to say the least, things have come a long way since. And especially in the 2019 with that recent boom, canning is becoming much more of a thing. This Provisions was a brand I had not heard before. But again, they've got kind of a funny, funky, old-time packaging off us. They're number 4871. Essentials for the well-supplied is their motto and theme. I appreciate that. You should always keep, you guys have heard me say it before. Wine should be a grocery, not a luxury. So stay well supplied with your provisions. I wanted to try something on the crisper white range rather than just a Chardonnay and see how well they're hanging in with that kind of complement. So in the Pinot Gris, Pinot Grigio category, we have their particular wine. We're going to begin with the provisions because it's the lighter of the two and because I've already been drinking it. So this, as far as packaging is concerned and what we see on the bottle or the box, right? How did the package guide us within this? The answer about what's in the box is pretty obvious, right? They have a nice little label. They're actually color coded around the side, depending on the type of wine they are. So you can kind of easily identify, say they've got this greenish yellow here for the Pinot Gris, a dark gold for the Chardonnay, a light red for the Pinot Noir, a darker red for Cabernet. So they're kind of giving you a color-coded scheme, which is easy to see. They've got their cool, funky, old-time, and I absolutely appreciate it, logo style. Thank you for Provisions Wine Company. Brought to you by Dipsy Doo. You, sir, are a scoundrel if you don't drink Provisions wine. Growers of everyday fine wine, essentials for the well-supplied. So, 1920s mode off. But they're when they look at their actual functional packaging here, we've got cool stuff too. On the front, on the sides, and I believe on the back, they're telling me about flavors, which is awesome. It's got melon and candied lemon aromas, grapefruit and floral notes with a zesty finish. I want to say yeasty finish there, but I was trying to read their cursive handwriting on that one. They've used a different, more readable font on the side. Right, for that says basically the exact same thing. 12.5% alcohol by volume and 500 mils. As I pointed out earlier, it's got a glass equivalency marking on the side. This is equal to 3 5.6 ounce servings, which is awesome. This, by the way, Valle Central in Chile is where this is from, okay? And, of course, the obligatory contains sulfites wine. They've even got stuff, a short version up here in case you hadn't seen it on the back of grapefruit and hints of candied lemon. They're hammering flavor home. I think, because they're aiming maybe at entry-level wine drinkers, perhaps because they're and I don't want to say dumbing it down, but that is what it is. They are basically keep using plain language for non-wine speaking people, and that's awesome. I think that's where everybody needs to be. You can tell me your fancy wine talk as well, but guess what? If you don't tell me the basics of what I'm supposed to be drinking, then you're not doing anybody really a service there. Then there's a big thing of government warnings on the other corner of the box. So all I'm waiting for here is them to start putting prizes inside these, and I should have one of these every day for breakfast. So kind of cool. So let's see. That kind of covers what's in the can, what's in the box, where the grapes grown. We got flavor words, no food pairings. Notice again, I think a lot of these wines are very much touting on their credentials of being consumed for their own purpose. They're there to be enjoyed on their own. They're not really thinking of what we would traditionally think of as wine and food pairing. That's just not really in their wheelhouse. Okay. So while I'm not surprised, it's a minor tick. As far as I'm concerned, when it comes to all the stuff that we really want to see on the label, I mean, they're hitting a solid A here. They've got everything in plain readable everywhere. The multiple use of flavor words is great. Okay, so let's talk about tasting notes. Is it well executed? Is it on style? And is it worth the price tag? We're not going to run through the whole formal sommelier grid. We're just going to go off at a base level here, but the nose is a little bit on the green side. It doesn't really come off with a ton of fresh fruit. Then again, for Pinot Gris, Pinot Grigio, right? I would expect bigger kind of lemon and lemongrass. This one's a little bit vegetal, right? Doesn't really have a lot of fruit or any other aromas coming off. And perhaps maybe a hint of lemon pith in the very, very back, but it's very, very faint. It's kind of dominated by a little fresh greens, fresh cut salad kind of note on it, which is kind of a little surprising. So when we talk about style, though, remember we're talking about a Chilean Pinot Gris here, okay, or Pinot Grigio. So we're not trying necessarily to compare it to what we might find in California or Northeast France or Northern Italy or North Central Italy. So this is a thing all of its own. Acidity, medium plus, right where it ought to be, right? Pinot Gris should be nice, bright, acidic. It's a blend of non-specific fruit, however, when it comes to the flavor profile. It doesn't sing out to me as lemon or lime. It's kind of a limon, right? Hashtag trademark Sprite. But it's got that really interesting kind of middle ground thing. There's this candied thing. I'm not quite getting the grapefruit zest that they're aiming for, but the candied lemon, I think that's the presentation that you get on the tongue, and I think it's kind of spot on, right? It's not a fresh fruit. It's this candied fruit. The acidity is nice and bracing, but not overbearing. It livens up and brings the lemon to the fore. As I've been drinking this and it's getting a little bit warmer, it's hitting that ideal temperature. Really kind of spot on. Very pleasant to drink. Not much to say for its finish, but kind of on style. It's kind of a there and gone kind of wine. Easy kind of quaffer, leaving a little bit of that lemon rind or candied lemon behind. But are there any other things? I don't really get their floral notes in there, but balanced and zesty finish, I would definitely agree with that assessment. So, is it worth the price tag? Price tag on this Provisions Wine Pinot Grigio was $5, $7.99 list price before club discount. So $5 for 500 mils basically comes out to equivalent of a $7 to $8 bottle of wine. This is totally a $7 to $8 bottle of wine. I mean, this is the perfect point where you're not going to gain anything by buying a bottle that you're not already getting in this cool little box. So Provisions, I will keep trying some of their others out. Maybe we'll try some on some later grocery store grabs. I'll just try some in some what I'm drinking, but I'm definitely giving them an A on their label. I think they're definitely a yes. Well, the question is it well executed? Yes, this is a well executed Pinot Gris. Is it on style? Well, it doesn't really have. I don't really have a good reference point for Chilean Pinot Gris in my experience, so I'm going to have to give that a we'll see. I may have to seek out some additional high quality ones. Although remember, I'm going to have to find a Pinot Gris from Chile that is also in that $7 to $8 price point. Kind of, or even up to the $10 or $12 price point, because as you said, they've got the packaging advantage, so to speak. But I could definitely recommend this. I mean, this is definitely a thing that I'll be looking at this when I go out on the road and go camping or go to picnics and whatnot. Great recyclable packaging, easy to use. 2 WineShark fins up. All right, so that's pretty cool. I'm impressed. I hate to say that, I'm like prepared to be disappointed with this, but this is that part where, again, that stigma looms large. I've been doing this for a long time, and so having opportunities to break that moxie myself, break that mode is one of those things that we've that's very very exciting to me, right? And trying to be a good reviewer in all cases. It's not to set previous expectations. So here's our Underwood Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir. All right, so let's talk about this one from their packaging perspective. Really like they're going with a very minimalist packaging with plain can and basically the reverse type. Really clean look overall, very attractive on the shelf space. However, it does make their wines a little bit more difficult to pick out. I think they do different back colors to the label, um, whether from their reds and their whites. I have to double check that. I did not take a note, but as far as the things on the label, they've got who it's made by, where it's made. Pinot Noir, Oregon grown. It's non-AVA. It doesn't have a specific AVA on it. It's got its 13% alcohol by volume and 375 ml format written down. They do not have a per bottle comparison or a service comparison here, right? So technically, if they were doing the same thing here, this is about two servings of wine rather than just drinking one for a can. Remember that at 13% alcohol by volume, you're drinking basically the equivalent of about two beers in that same 12 ounces. So that's depending on the beer's ABV. But understand that they might want to put a little add-on there because it also might help people understand that, hey, for the $5.50 that they're asking you, you're getting two glasses of wine. That's a pretty good value statement, to be honest. Underwood Pinot Noir says the Union Wine Company brings the spirit and character of Oregon to wines you can put on your table every day. We believe that the contents are more important than the container. That good wine should be able to go anywhere. So basically, give you their marketing and value statement, 2 thumbs up. But they do follow it up with an important, it's much less text, but it's still here. And that is, we love our wine. We just don't drink it with our pinkies in the air. And so their hashtag pinkies down. Then they've got a separate area, which I kind of give them credit for, but it's limited in the notes. It doesn't basically say flavor, but in notes, raspberry, cherry, chocolate. I don't know whether that means that I'm supposed to drink with them or that's what the notes I'm supposed to take them, but let's assume that those are what the wine is supposed to taste like. Raspberry, cherry, and chocolate. Union Wine Company, cellared and packaged by. Then a bunch of government mobile jumbo on the side. So I would still call this one, this would probably be a solid B. The information's all there, but it's not quite as detailed. And if they'd spend a little less time trying to sell me on the can, in other words, let the product do the work for you, I think they might, tell me a little bit more about the wine. Act like the wine that you have in the can is exactly like you're going to have in the bottle or the same level of quality. Speak of it in that same terms. Even if your whole concept is pinkies down, do straight talk, do no bullshit. So Shannon is super intrigued. Well, here we go. This is the Pinot Noir from Underwood. We're going to give it a go. Now, this was $5.49 a can, as we said, $7.49 list price before the usual club discount. Again, these have a little bit of that grocery store inflation for non club discount, but that's just normal at this point, as we've realized. That little bit of inflation, I'd like to see. I'm going to go, when I look out in the wild, I'm going to see what these are pricing outside the grocery store. But let's find out how this Pinot Noir does. On the nose, not a bunch of big aromatics. I wonder about this one too. Maybe I have to decant my can. I may need to be thinking about that in the future, and I'll give it a chance. So we got that whole idea of kind of a limited nose, limited aromatics, but there's a tiny hint of that cranberry or cherry note that I would expect out of a Pinot Noir, especially about an Oregon Pinot Noir, which tend to go towards pomegranate, red fruits, cranberries, that kind of thing. Okay. Man, screams Oregon Pinot Noir. It's got that cranberry bog, red racy fruits. It's up in the front of your mouth. Tannins are bright. Acid is bright. Not a lot of weight to it. This is very much on the lighter side of the Pinot Noir world, which I got to admit, if we're thinking about the canned format and what it's designed to do, right? The idea of it's going where you are. You're not cracking open a big, heavy, thoughtful can yet. Funny part is uh, if you think about wines in the regular wine world, or think about beers in the big beer class, right? We talk about bigger, heavier, thoughtful type beers. Beer is very well capable of doing that. But one of the things we're not seeing out of this, at least so far, I will keep experimenting for heavier red styles. But this is very much a high, fun, open, clean little Pinot Noir. Um, well executed and on style for Oregon. I mean, it's 100%. If I was to pour this blind, not knowing it was in a can, both coloration and causation here would, it's very much got that delightful Willamette thing going on. Even though it says it's basically Oregon grown, which means it may not be any particular AVA, probably just means that they're sourcing multiple AVAs, right? They're getting fruit at a good price from the quality growers that they know. They just don't happen to all be in one place. So that's not abnormal at this level. Remember, this price is out at about $11 to $12 a bottle when we come through it. Now, Mary was saying the 2018 says cherry blueberry cigar box $7.99 on sale. So see, their bottle price is about $8, whereas their canned price is coming in at 11 to 12. Can't drink the can until you decant the can. Exactly right. Can't drink the can from decant the can, from to the can from the toucan can. Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, it is very much an easy drinking, what you'd expect out of it Pinot. Is it worth the price tag? Two glasses for 550. Yeah, I mean, this drinks like an $11, $12 bottle of wine. Like I said, maybe even up to, given its can advantage, maybe even up to say $14, $15. So that's I'm going to be checking out more of the Underwood. A lot of the styles, again, though, that I saw, I had to look for. I bought four different products for review for this whole kind of process. We'll do two of them in a couple more weeks for Picnic Wine Week. We'll do a couple more fast formats. Next week, we're going to do some other stuff that I'm not going to tell you about because I'm a secretive guy. But anyway, we'll do a couple more. But I bought a Cabernet in a box from Black Box. And then I bought another. And then I bought the canned stuff from Kim Crawford, from Kim, right? From Millennium Brands. So that's their Sauvignon Blanc in a can. So that's kind of cool because we have a known good quality that now is going to the can format, so we can compare those. And then we have the other concept of Black Box, who's a very highly rated boxed wine company. They've won like 70 some odd awards. And I want to see what their Cabernet is playing like. I'm like, okay, I want to check its price point to value and see where it's punching. But the same thing also goes true. I want to see what we look at when we start pushing the quality point up and we get high quality wines in that different format, not just what I would call, middle grocery store level, that $10 to $15 level. I want to see what happens when we get to 15, 30, 40. So, all right, I'm going to catch up with Shannon says super intrigued, but yeah, so this canned wine thing is kind of cool. Like I said, you didn't get to hear I don't know if you got to hear my old timey Provisions wine one, but they're pretty snazzy too. And I've got a couple of other options as well. And yeah, $5.50 at Total Wine for a box, which is about the same you're paying for at the grocery store, which says something, by the way. Probably means they're at the bottom end of their. And here's an interesting question, Matthew. Does the number end in 7? Or does it end in a 9? Is it the usual thing to ask yourself at Total Wine? Because if it ends in a 7, if the numeric number ends in 7, there is no mixed 6 discount on it because it means their basic bottom line price. They're giving you the best deal they can. So day old fruit. What is Rob's Black Box is generally very good. Yeah, so Rob's already tried out some Black Box, which is good. So actually good deals for a glass or two, rather the whole bottle. Well, yes, Matthew, for those of you guys are catching in late, when I talked about one of the whole value statements is that bagged and boxed wines, canned wines in specific, one of their major strengths is that servability and the idea of if you only want one glass, maybe two glasses, boxed wines are by far superior to any other possible format you're going to get. So it's all about that purpose, about that need. So if we can change the premise, if we can convince the sales that are there, and we can get the brands that own the quality to start risking a little quality. And what I really want to see is I want to see somebody who's a good player in a known good in the $20 to $30 range go, we also offer this exact same product right here in our boxes and bags. And they're going to be like, what? Because that statement means, look, if you trust our juice already, if you like what we're doing, try this. It's a better value. It's coming to you at value. It's better for the environment. It's better for your service. It's better for serving over time. I mean, the options are really kind of growing there when it comes to that, but it's going to take people demanding it and people consuming it. So, I mean, active effort on my part, for instance, is utilizing some of these choices when the opportunities are available. The market certainly says that that we're going to be going up pretty soon. So, the markets, I certainly agree that with the folks in the industry, where the future of this is nothing but up. The question is just a matter of when and how, and can we force it in the right directions from a consumer perspective, so that the dog is wagging the tail, not the other way around. I don't want to be stuck with only bubbly rosé options. I want to get some, give me some high quality Zins, give me a Petit Verdot in a box, and I'll be awesome. So, all right, so let's open Q&A. Everybody's kind of had the rush of fun comments there. Barbara talking about back to grad school days. Yeah, exactly. And we talked about boxed wine as the beginning part. So, that whole part of, and this is only the mini box style, of course, the large format box styles. There's some other cool ones that are out there now too, that one of the producers has what looks like a little mini wine keg. It's about, I want to say, 18 inches long by about 12 inches around or so. And it comes a little spigot, and it looks like you've tapped into a little wine cask. Again, perfect for entertaining, where you want to set something out on the counter and you don't want the actual box kind of thing. Break that Franzia stigma and get people out of the mindset that just because of what it comes in means it must be trash. That, like many other wine stereotypes, is a thing of the past. So all we've got to get them to do now is kind of raise the top end, break the glass ceiling. Ooh, there's a marketing line for you right there. Write that down that I said that. And do that. You know what? And if Michael David is listening, tell Dave Phillips, hey, I gave you a marketing slogan. Give me some free wine, because you guys are awesome. So anyway, anybody else got questions about things that have been going on this week? For those of you that showed up late, you guys missed our Aperol Spritz recipe for a fine summer easy poolside drinking. Going to be planning on making some of these with this upcoming 4th of July weekend. Speaking of upcoming 4th of July, things that are coming soon, on Friday, we've got our Bubbles show. So we're going to be doing Bubbles Basics, learning about Cava, Prosecco, and Cremant de Bourgogne. So we're going to talk about how sparkling wines are made, both Méthode Traditionnelle, Charmant method, etc. Speaking of which, in the Bubbles show, I'll also show you a Kir Royale cocktail, because I'm that kind of friend. So for those that really want to tasty up and jazz up your fancy drink, I can make it fancier. So yes, Matthew, you must go get those tomorrow, or may place your order online tonight and just pick it up. That's the greatest part about online ordering. If you're ordering from Total Wine, you can go get them, pick them up the next day. If you guys are ordering from wine.com, you're probably on pushing it right now from Wednesday to Friday, but you need a little bit more heads up. But go get some of those good examples. I have it on reliable authority. My mother said that when she got hers, she actually found some at HEB, and her local liquor store was also holding the JCB, the Jean-Charles Boissier, that we'll be trying as well. So we got Bubbles coming up. Then we're going to do, so July looks like Bubbles, then Wine and Cheese, then Zinfandel, then Picnics, and then Pinots. So good times when the upcoming tastings for the Friday shows. Those are going to be a hell of a lot of fun. If you guys who haven't had a chance, you need to come join us, raise a glass, and have all your questions answered in real time. So lots of fun with those things. But yeah. So any other questions? What else we got other than Matthew knows that he needs to make an order? So Rob, what kind of black box wines have you tried before? Do you remember any of the specific varietals that you have a chance for? If you were still on, by the way, he might have been that one person who left. Rob's like, nope, screw it, I'm out. So, but yeah, so there's some fun stuff going on. I'm really kind of intrigued by this. My other grocery store that I go to has recently reformatted, and so I have a grocery store that I would call the average grocery store. Right, that is kind of my regular one, and that's the Tom Thumb that's over around the corner from me. And their wine section is what I would call typical. Right, they've got the way that they've got the setup, and it is one of their average stores. And then the Kroger that it's around the corner is they're just shifting over to their more signature model. And so with their signature model, they offer kind of upsell kind of items. They've got a cheese set counter section. They've got a much more expansive wine section, things like that. So I've kind of got a balance in there, and that's one of the things to remember is that not everybody's grocery stores are even created equal. While we haven't grown quite so far as to go to the corner store grab, we are at least doing that. So Rob said that he tried the Cabernet, which was quite good, and the Shiraz as well. He said never tried their whites. Okay, but so good. Like I said, I want to. They're on my list. I have heard good things in the past that Black Box was one of those names that is again perfectly credible. They're not write home to mom and be like, "Oh my God, go get yourself a bottle of black wine, black box wine. Don't stop now. Get it now." Not that kind of good, but in the it does what it's there to do. It's there to be reliable. It's there to be consistent. It's there to be there when you get home. So my phone. So let's see. We've tried most of the black box offerings. Have all been reliable but good. Their go-to at the fair, right? So when Mary and David are on the road, right? When they're in their camper and on the road at fair season, it's always a good option for them. So that gives you a good example of another purpose and use. Super excited to see it was about feature in fall and winter. Oh, Miss Shannon, you have we're just getting started. I tell you, I have a wine list so far that extends all the way out through November, including holiday specials, fall flavors, and all kinds of fun stuff. Plus, we'll, of course, get the wine and cheese shows that we do. So every month, basically, you're going to get 2 wine style show, 1 wine and cheese show, and 1 wine and food show, which will, of course, include fall favorites, at least in September, October, November, and December. So, and black wine is also good anywhere glass is forbidden. Brilliant point. Exactly that. Remember the accessibility of these formats. Again, glass, boxes, cans, whatever you have. Boxes, bags, and cans are all about, well, yes. Well, good English is actually not what we're looking for here on WineShark. That is, we're not a example channel when it comes for proper formatted speech. Although we can go back to 1920s speak mode if we want to with the Provisions wine, because that's what I really think of their logo there. Right? They've got the try Dr. Provisions Chardonnay. My Pinot Gris took away my bunions, solved all my problems. Maybe it gave me a bunion. I don't know. That could be a thing. All right. Well, we're getting close to wrapping up there. When you guys have a chance, I said the stream will transfer from here onto the actual WineShark channel usually within minutes of the times we are done. So while I love your comments here upon the live chat, if you have good questions that you want to share with the rest of the world, that you want an answer to for posterity and for the benefit of me and the channel, go check out the comment section there and post your channel there. Do you have a favorite box or canned wine, something that you guys have had experiences and it's one of your go-tos? We're hearing a lot of props for Black Box there. But tell us about it down in the comments, right? We definitely want to have that back and forth. If there's things that you want me to try and get and go experiment with, that'd be awesome. One that I'm actually going to see about getting that'll cross the line between the Texas Wine Plan and the canned wine program. That's a product called Flight by Keepersol. They have a nice little sparkling canned wine that's named so with a little feather on the label because they have a partially biodynamic. I don't know if it's partially or wholly biodynamic vineyard, but they have a group. What is the proper word for their term? They don't have vineyard chickens. They have vineyard. What is their bird of flavor out there? They have a small flock of birds that are their particular guardians of the grape. They go out there and eat worms and keep pests off the bugs. And so they are occasionally seen wandering throughout the vineyard when you go on tour out there, which is kind of cool. Anyway, the flight is named after thus. It's got one of their feathers upon it, and it's a delightful little sparkling white wine in a can. So enough good wine, and I know Cat's English is shot. Yes, exactly. Well, Shannon, we look forward to it as well. We can't wait to fall anyway. I mean, I know summer just got here, but I'm done with the heat already. It's messing with my fishing, so gotta say. All right. Well, excellent, folks. Any last questions? I mean, no reason we have to use up the entire hour. Just want to say thank you to everybody. I love the fact you guys show up. I hope you guys are. What is everybody drinking, by the way? Is everybody sitting here in some sort of? Yeah, maybe they were guinea hens. That might be it, Rob. I'd have to look on their website. Hang on just a second. We'll look for that keeper salt. So let's see. What is keeper salt? Do they know anything about the legend of their beards? What type of beards do you use to keep the bugs away from your grapes? Or would you tell me about it if I looked into the wines and looked in your flight wine? Oh, it's a bubbly rosé, not a bubbly white. I was incorrect. But I've tried it and it's good. This much I can assure you. They also have a fizzy vit white wine. That's the one that I also have tried, just to be clear on it. But yeah, anyway, some types of beards. All right. John Kerry's finishing off Pardon that Fields, finishing up a little Beaujolais. Very nice. See, leftover Beaujolais as well. I love it. Wine is great, but unfortunately, it was one of those head-to-head bourbon. Well, sorry that Matthew has had a bourbon choice day. I will tell you, by the way, that barrel-aged wines are coming soon to a rant near you. The Clinker Brick Farah. Nice. Mom's got some awesome Syrah from Lodi. Beaujolais and a burger for the win. Damn right, Rob. That's what I'm telling you, man. Beaujolais is your light food fare, perfect for burgers. Great stuff. I'm going to assume Shannon's probably still working, so right, she has to sit here and suffer while I drink wine, which is no fun. But all right, I'm going to be ready to sign off for you guys here. I love you guys, and thank you so very much. Thank you to each and every one of you that comes out and supports me every week. If you like what we're doing, subscribe and like the channel. Share with a wine-loving friend. And if you really like what we're doing, support us over on Patreon. There's a bunch of exclusive content that's available there too, so you can get all kinds of other insights in addition to the weekly Wednesday wine show. So thank you guys so much, but appreciate you guys, and we will see you then. Until next time, I've been your Wine Shark, and cheers. If I push the buttons again.